Hello and welcome to Coffee with Dr. Carla. I'm Dr. Carter. This is Christine, and we are so glad that you are here with us. Our goal today is to talk about some mental health related issues and hopefully start to end the stigma around them. So, goal setting, right? A
Yes.
lot of people want to set goals and, kind of, uh, make changes in their life, and then life happens,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or a thousand other different type of obstacles end up getting in the way.
Right.
So, as you think about goal setting, how do you perceive it? Like, how do you even approach goals? Like, do you set goals for yourself?
I do.
How do you approach it? Right.
I love goals. I feel like goals are really helpful, but not necessarily always for um in the ways that people use them. I think that goals are really helpful because it lets you celebrate when you achieve something and it gives you something to strive for. But I also know that goals can be discouraging sometimes. So
Yeah.
I think it's all about setting the right goals.
So, what would be the right goals? How would you define, like, if someone came to you and said, "Oh, so Christine, what do you consider to be right goals?" What would
Yeah.
that be?
So I think that a good goal is never something that you think of that is set in stone all the time for life. I think understanding that life changes and you have to adapt with those things and give yourself a little bit of grace and be okay with adapting a little bit is a big piece of things.
Right.
Because I think sometimes we get these goals and it is hard and fast. And having a specific goal can be great. Having something so that you know when you've made the progress is a part of a good goal, right? So that you know that it has been achieved. So that's why, like, an idea of losing weight as a goal
Right.
is tough because when have you achieved that, right? But losing 10 pounds is a specific goal, and you know when you've hit that goal and you can celebrate that. Um,
There's a time element
yeah,
or something to that effect. And you hear a lot of these sayings like, "Hey, a goal without like a time element on it is just a wish."
right. Right. But when you have something that changes in your situation, right? If you had a goal of a financial goal that you had for the year, for your family or for yourself, and then your financial situation drastically changed, if we hit a recession or something happened with your job,
Or there was a global pandemic and the world shut down and many places went under. I know. Imagine that,
Right.
right?
Understanding that it is not a failure for you to not reach that goal in that time frame, but that's something that you can make the adjustment to the time frame or to restarting that goal at another time and giving yourself that grace. I think that's what makes a good goal and a good mindset going into setting goals.
Yeah, I really work hard to get people to understand what's an outcome goal versus a process goal too,
Yeah.
right? And I know there's all sorts of different information out there about how to create goals and whatnot, but at the end of the day, an outcome goal is either you did it or you didn't.
Hmm.
I'm setting a goal to run a marathon. Either I ran the marathon or I didn't run the marathon. I'm setting I'm setting a goal to um, go back to school. Either I registered for school or I
Right.
didn't. Right? Like it's either I did or I didn't.
Right.
However, back to the marathon type thing, there's a lot of processes that have to be put in place for me to actually get to the start line and then what
Right.
complete it, right? So, those processes are usually the elements that allow me to be able to do that big thing.
Right.
So, for me, it was, figuring out the intervals at which I was running so that I
Hmm.
could maintain this over long periods of time, or how I was going to take in fluids, or how I was going to, you know, uh, replenish electrolytes, or what
Right.
my nutrition was going to look like. And all these little pieces put together, eventually, if I did all those little pieces,
Right.
then the outcome could come to be,
Right.
right? But I will tell you, I did have a goal that was very time specific for a half marathon, and I always came within 2 minutes of it, so did not make it. And having to come to the reality that that's still darn good,
Yeah.
right? Like, I was pretty happy about it because it still was a good time
Right.
considering my age and how I operated. I mean, I was
Hey, you ran. That's a big one for
like,
me.
I was not athletic until I was into my 40s. So, like, how did
Right.
so but at the end of the day, to set this goal, it did seem very realistic and it did seem very attainable because I was within 4 minutes of that goal,
Right. And you
right?
broke it down. So
And I
you
broke
receive,
it
you
and I
like,
broke it down, right?
yeah, you got those other pieces of it. I think that's a
Right.
huge part.
So the closest I came was within 2 minutes of my goal. But at the end of the day, I still have to celebrate. I really liked when you said
Yeah.
that because it's those little victories that we overlook so very much.
Yes. And that doesn't help you with setting more goals or getting further in your goal. Whereas if you can celebrate that you've done something, it pushes you forward into the next thing. It gives you that success so that you want to do it again. If every time you set a goal, you feel like you failed at it or you just ignore when you did achieve it, you're not really going to want to do that. It's not an enjoyable process anymore,
So
right?
what kind of things do you put in place to help you remember to celebrate those victories, those whether they're
Yeah.
big victories or small victories? Like how do you like have you found a mechanism that's been useful?
I there's a whole lot of different goals setting like theories out there.
Most definitely, right.
Right? I tend to kind of mash things together for myself. So I like to write things down. I think that's a key part for me, at least with goals, because it holds me accountable. It makes me remember what it is that I'm doing.
Exactly,
It
right.
also makes it so that I can easily break it down. So if I have the big goal of getting my house clean and organized, I'm not going to leave it at that. I can kind of do little bullet points underneath or like a checklist underneath, basically, where it's cleaning up the living room or organizing that one drawer in the
What
kitchen,
and
you
what
know?
does cleaning up the living room mean,
Right.
right?
So you can break it down even further. If that means putting away the toys and all these like, dusting the baseboards. I don't know. I'm not a big cleaner. But
Okay,
right.
so like anyone who knows me, it's not me cleaning my house, it's my daughter, and she would just be cringing if I even tried to pretend like I knew what cleaning was.
Well, and it
So,
means something different for everybody.
right,
So
yeah,
for me, when I have achieved a clean living room, it's going to mean something very different than for your daughter. So breaking it down into those smaller tasks
right,
is so much more helpful for me. And then usually what I'll do is if it is smaller tasks like wiping off the coffee table, I'm not going to celebrate that all the time, but I would for the cleaning the living room, I'd have something in there when I wrote it down about what I get to do to celebrate. And sometimes it's something like simple like just congratulations
right.
you did that. Other times it's treating myself to like 20 minutes of guilt free just sitting and watching TV in my
Okay,
clean living room or something like that. I think that's a piece of things that you do have to celebrate, but it also doesn't have to go against your goal. I think sometimes I get people talking about goals and everybody goes right to weight, right? And like food and fitness goals and
so I
people.
achieved this goal, so now I'm going to go out to dinner.
Right,
Right, yeah,
right. So I lost the weight. So now I get to have my cheat day, right? I did it so well. So now I get to have my cheat day. And trying to think of things in different terms so that it doesn't go against your goals can be a big deal. It can be very helpful and a big motivator to make it work a little better for
so
you.
you mentioned checklists and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
there are many people who enjoy making their list and they really enjoy scratching it off
Yes. On paper.
on paper, right? So while yeah, okay, you're not going to sit there and go, I
Right.
checked off wiping off the table, but
I get to cross
you
it
get
off.
to cross it off.
And at the end of the day, I can see that like half of my things are crossed off, right?
And is that not a form of celebration?
Oh, for sure.
Right,
Yeah. But like recognizing, taking that minute to step back and say, I get to cross this off, right? Is a big, not just leaving it on the table and forgetting to cross it off the list. I think
right,
that is a piece.
right. So, okay, so I mean, we've talked about some day-to-day stuff, kind of like keeping us on track for our, just daily life. Um, and then there's those things where maybe it's going out 3, 6, 8, 10 months,
Yeah.
years. And, how do you know, h- how have you found, maybe you found it, maybe you haven't, have you been able to stay on track with something that's much more long term, right?
Yeah, I think with that, it is still kind of breaking it down into the smaller pieces and putting those time bound things, right? Working in checks. If you're working on something for, if you have a 5 year goal, it does not make sense to look back at that every single day and have I achieved that, right?
Right.
But having a goal for each quarter of the year, so a 3 month goal that you're doing that will get you towards that big one does allow you that chance to celebrate. It allows you to work on that and to keep that overall thing in mind.
Yeah. So, what would you think the biggest thing that's been helpful for you that maybe somebody else could try as well?
Honestly, it's just to try it. It's to try setting a goal and having it be something small at first so that you can really start to get successes. It feels kind of silly sometimes for yourself when you're setting a small goal that you basically know you can do, but you can always start to stretch it a little farther the next time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and it feels good to accomplish something, and so then
Hmm.
you're a little bit more motivated to try the next thing. So,
Right.
yeah, definitely. Goal setting is hard. I know there's times of the year, like at the beginning of the year and whatnot, where people tend to do more of that, and then they end up
Hmm.
dying out. But it doesn't matter what time of year it is. You
You
can
can
set
start
goals.
anytime.
Yep, most
Yep.
definitely, most definitely. So remember, you can change your thoughts, discover your potential, and transform your life by focusing on your overall well-being. So until next time, continue working on being the best you possible. Bye.
Bye.